Let me tell you how it feels to be loved, really loved, by the man who sold your soul to save his own. My name is Kieran Vale, Rebel Alpha, fugitive, burned and buried but never dead. And tonight, I'm back. 5 years ago, I led the Iron Fangs, the only pack brave enough to stand against the Syndicate's iron grip on this city. We weren't rich, we weren't polished, but we were free. And then came him, Cassian Knox. Hey everyone, thanks for watching. If you're enjoying this story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Your support means everything to me, and I have so much more content in store for you all. So hit that like button and stay tuned for the next chapter. Let's create a community of epic storytelling together. Now let's dive back to the story. Cassian was the Alpha Prime of the Obsidian Circle. Cold as a winter blade, beautiful like damnation in a tailored suit, and mine in every way that mattered, until he wasn't. We met in shadows, at first just power testing power, but one night, something broke between us. Pride cracked open, and we fell into each other like fools drowning in firelight, and skin-soft whispers that turned into "stay with me." I believed him when he said he'd walk through hell for me, but I didn't think he'd throw me into it instead. The night they came for me, he stood at their front line, in full ceremonial black, eyes empty as they chained my wrist behind my back and dragged me away from our apartment, from our bed still warm with us tangled together hours before. No warning, no word, just silence, and betrayal so deep it stole my breath more than any bullet ever could. They said I died in prison 9 when the riots burned it down 5 years later. Nah, I crawled out through blood and ash with one purpose left, to make Cassian Knox beg for mercy. And then, watch him realize, when I don't give second chances. Now here I am, in leather soaked by rain, standing at the edge of his kingdom once again, with fire in my veins, a war cry on mute, and revenge pulsing harder than love ever did. Do you know the worst part of our love story? He didn't have the decency to tell me himself. Instead, I overheard 2 Obsidian Circle thugs talking about Cassian's upcoming wedding to Liam, a wealthy alpha with political influence to match. Can you even imagine? The man I loved, the one I shared a bed, a roof, a future with, pledging his eternal loyalty to another alpha? I still remember the look on his face when we made love last. There was this one night, one of those nights where the moon was full and we were tangled in sheets on the verge of sleep, when he brushed his fingers over my jaw and whispered, "I love you. Only you, always you." I didn't realize he was lying through his teeth, but I should have. I was just so damn stupid. Or maybe I still am, because that night, even as it played on repeat in my mind like a wound that would never heal, the city sparkled like a lie that night. Golden lights strung across the high-rise gardens of the Obsidian Estate, champagne flutes clinking under soft string music, alphas in tailored suits and silk, laughing like the world wasn't built on blood and betrayal. And there, center of it all, he stood. Liam, the one he had chosen, stood close beside him, tall, polished, glowing with pride as Cassian raised their linked hands to the crowd. An engagement seal burned into matching rings that pulsed faintly with bonded alpha energy. Bound. They were bound already? Not just engaged, but claimed. My breath caught. Sharp pain tearing through my ribs like a blade had slipped between them unnoticed. I stayed far back in the shadows beyond the garden wall, one foot planted on cracked concrete where rats scurried and rain pooled under broken streetlights, the other towing the edge of oblivion itself, hood up, face hidden, heart shattering piece by piece beneath layers of worn fabric and old scars no one asked about anymore. From here, I could see everything but be seen by no one. And God help me, I still knew how Cassian laughed when he really let go, low at first, then rolling out rich and full after you teased him enough until his control cracked open just once. Now he laughed like that, For Liam, at something Liam said, while resting a hand possessively at his fiance's lower back. The same place mine used to rest every night before we slept together naked from chest to thigh, beneath tangled sheets whispering promises neither fully kept. A gust cut through my hoodie. I didn't flinch, but inside I was screaming so loud even hell would have paused to listen. You swore you loved me more than air. Then why am I drowning while you learn how to breathe again? I should have left then, walked away from this gilded funeral they called happiness, but instead, I stayed long enough to see Cassian stop mid-conversation and glance toward where I stood hidden in darkness, like something deep inside him still felt me watching, like part of him never stopped waiting, even if all he found tonight was grief dressed up as revenge. Tears slid down my face before I could stop them, and fell silently into puddles at my feet, mixing with rainwater. Because loving someone doesn't die easy, especially when they become everything your shattered heart can't have again. So I watched them celebrate from the dark. Laughter spilled out into the night like it wasn't built on my bones. Cassian, my Cassian, in that black-on-black suit with silver stitching like a king's armor, standing beside Liam, like they'd never burned for someone else, like I hadn't bled for him, died for him, crawled through fire just to say his name one more time. And there he was, smiling, not just smiling, but glowing, like love had actually forgiven him, like he deserved peace after selling my life away, with a single nod to the council guards who came to drag me out of our bed. I remember that night, rain tapping against the window, the scent of sandalwood in the air, me pulling him close after our lovemaking, whispering into his neck, "One day this war will end, and we'll live somewhere no one knows our names." He kissed me back and said, "Only if you're with me." 2 weeks later, he signed my death warrant, because the greater good needed sacrifice, because he couldn't risk being tied to a rebel alpha when his rise was finally within reach. Fucking fine. But let's be clear now. This isn't about hurting Cassian Knox anymore. It's about making sure everything he loves, the power, the respect, the future built on lies, rots from within until all that's left is an empty man staring at ashes, wondering what price true betrayal really costs. And I'll be right there when it happens, smiling wider than he did tonight. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I sat in the dark attic of an abandoned safe house, rain drumming on rusted metal above me, a single candle flickering beside photos ripped from old news feeds, Cassian shaking hands with syndicate elders, Cassian smiling beside Liam at a gala, Cassian standing where they said I died. My fingers traced the edge of a knife. My fingers traced the edge of a knife, not for killing, not yet, but for cutting deep in other ways. You want to know how revenge really tastes? It's not blood, it's not fire. It's watching the man who owned your soul, the one you'd have taken 10 bullets for, sit across from his new alpha fiancé at some glittering banquet, laughing like love was ever clean, and knowing he'll never see this coming, because I wasn't just going to expose him. I wasn't just going to break him in front of his world. No, I wanted him alone, on his knees, breathing fast, eyes wide with something worse than fear, regret. Here's what I did. First, I found someone close, one of Cassian's inner circle, Torin, his most trusted advisor and liaison to the Obsidian archives, cold, loyal, and secretly addicted to midnight rendezvous with masked alphas in backrooms beneath the city's oldest clubs. Easy prey. Torin is an easy prey. One night, wearing leather and shadow instead of my face, I gave him what he craved: heat, dominance, silence that felt like trust. I took him against a brick wall, hard, buried myself deep inside of him, while music pulsed above us. And when he came, he whispered things no servant should ever say about their master.
Cassian lied about Prison 9. He didn't just abandon Kieran Vale, he made sure no extraction team went near Block 7. Said it had to be done for control.
He said, and I recorded every word through a hidden implant under my tongue, the kind rebels use when they're already dead, but still need justice crawling behind them after they fall. Then, while Torrens slept half-dazed beneath me, sated and stupid, I slipped away like smoke and broke into Knox Tower that same night, using stolen access codes sewn into an old rebel tattoo on my hip. One only Cass used to know how to find me if we ever got separated. I went upstairs, past silent guards, through biometric locks forged by betrayal itself. I walked into his penthouse, into our bedroom, the one we built together before everything burned down with me inside it all. The air still smelled faintly of sandalwood and sleepless nights, where we held each other too tight, as if afraid one would vanish first. So yeah, before leaving, I took the bed, slept right there in our sheets, with every ghost between us whispering he loved you once. And when dawn came, I left behind something only lovers would notice. A single bloody handprint smeared across the pillow, right where my head lay all night, and beneath it, one line carved softly into fabric. Then I wrote on the pillow, "Did you miss me, or were you hoping rot would finish your work?" Then vanished again, because this wasn't about destruction anymore. This was anatomy-level revenge, cutting through lies until even he couldn't pretend who he'd become, or forget whose heart beat faster than anything else, even power, for far too long. So I camped in here for days, waiting for Cassian to come, and he did. Good. I stood in the shadows of his penthouse, no, our penthouse, and watched him pace under flickering lights, my bloody note trembling between his fingers. The handprint on the pillow, he'd seen it, known it, and now? Now he looked like a man who'd just seen hell crawl back through the door. When he finally turned and saw me, really saw me face to face after 5 years, he went white.
Kieran, you're supposed to be dead. You're alive?
His voice cracked like thin ice. I stepped forward slow. The rain outside was heavy. My heart? Heavier. But I made sure my voice stayed cold, sharp, like shattered glass wrapped in steel. "You know what happens when you bury someone alive?" I asked him as I took another step. "They don't rot," I said and took another step. "They burn!" He flinched, like I'd already hit him. And damn it, I wanted to not just punch him, break him the way he broke me when I would have taken any bullet for him if he'd just asked. Instead, he handed me over to be killed without blinking. So yeah, I let my rage speak first. "Did you even grieve?" My voice trembled, not from weakness, but from everything clawing up from inside that still loved him and hated myself for it. "Or did you slip that ring on Liam's finger before my body was cold?"
I didn't. It's not even what you think. They told me there were no survivors.
He shook his head fast, eyes wide with shock I never thought I'd see on that stone-cold face of his. "Oh, there were survivors," I snapped. "Just none they cared about." Silence fell hard between us, thick with ghosts and gasps of breath we both used to share at night, tangled beneath these same sheets. Then something broke in me, the last thread holding back all those nights crying blood into those prison concrete. So before he could speak again, before he could lie some more, I lunged, my fist slamming into his jaw so hard we both staggered sideways, glass exploding as we crashed through balcony doors onto the slick steel ledge above roaring wind, an endless dark city below. Rain poured down instantly, soaked us both within seconds, but still, I kept swinging at his face, again and again. Not caring about power or pride or consequences anymore. Only pain mattered now, his pain, mine, the unbearable truth that this man once kissed every scar on my body, and then gave them all new meaning by making more himself. But here's what cut deeper than anything else. Even as punches landed, even as blood ran down his lip, he never fought back. He didn't even block my blows, didn't strike back. Just his hands half lifted, not to defend himself, but as if trying to grab hold of something he lost. as if he was saying without words, "Please, make it hurt enough so maybe one day I can forgive myself." But I kept swinging, fist after fist at his jaw, ribs, shoulder, like I could beat the truth into him if I just hit hard enough. Rain poured down through the shattered balcony doors, soaking us both, mixing blood and tears before they even had time to fall. He didn't block, didn't fight back, just took the punches, all of it, with his eyes locked on mine like he was searching for something lost in the fire of my rage. And then something broke. Not in him, in me. My next punch never landed. My arm froze mid-swing, arm trembling, breath ragged, throat burning with words I'd spent 5 years swallowing. Because suddenly, I wasn't seeing the enemy. I wasn't seeing the betrayer or the cold alpha who let me die without a second thought. I saw him. The man who used to press soft kisses to my scars and whisper, "You're safe now," when nightmares woke me screaming. The one who held me so tight during storms that we became one heartbeat under tangled sheets. The only person whose touch ever made my demons stay calm inside of me. And now I was beating him senseless on a rain-slicked ledge 50 stories above death, with every strike feeling less like revenge and more like mourning. A sob ripped out of me, one violent, broken thing clawing up from deep in my chest, and then another until they came fast and hot down my face, blending with rain and blood and everything else drowning between us. "I would have died for you," I choked out. "Do you hear me? Died?" Another sob cut through like glass. "But you didn't even wait. You moved on before they confirmed whether or not there were ashes of me." Cassian's breath hitched. He reached out slightly as if to touch me, but stopped himself at last second, and that small movement destroyed what little control I had left. "Don't," I hissed through tears. "Don't pretend you get to look at me like that after throwing away what we were." But even as I said it, even as hate burned behind my eyes, my body remembered things words never could. His scent beneath leather and sandalwood, his warmth pressed close during winter nights. How he always touched right under my collarbone when checking if my pulse was steady. And God help me, standing here drenched in pain, I still wanted his hands on me again. So when he whispered,
Kieran, please.
Low voice trembling with guilt, with longing, with something dangerously close to desire, I felt it everywhere, like flame licking along bare skin, like our past dragging us both towards something worse than violence. The need was raw and unforgiving, impossible to ignore. Even now, as lightning split across the sky behind us, we crashed into each other like the world had already ended. 1 second I was sobbing, broken open by rage and grief, and the next, we were a tangle of desperate motion, rolling across the rain-slicked balcony floor with nothing between us but soaked fabric and too much history screaming through our veins. I pinned him first, wrists shoved above his head, my weight grinding down hard, and he didn't fight it. Didn't even flinch. Just stared up at me with those storm-gray eyes full of something that made my breath catch, raw, unashamed want, starved, and God help me, I wanted to devour him alive. So I leaned in, nose brushing his jaw, my voice rough as gravel. "Tell me you don't miss this," I whisper against his wet skin. "Tell me you don't still burn when you think about how my mouth used to own every inch of you." He shivered beneath me, not from cold, but from recognition. Then slowly, so damn slowly, he lifted one leg and hooked it around my hip, pulling our bodies flush. And just like that, the predator became prey again. Because now, our groins pressed tight together and neither of us could lie anymore. My length throbbed against his stomach. He ground right back at mine, both half hard before we even realized what was happening. Like our bodies remembered how they fit long before our hearts agreed to forgive. I snarled, a broken noise torn between fury and hunger, and slammed my mouth into his with no mercy, teeth clashing, lips splitting, the taste of blood sharp on both tongues as we kissed like enemies trying to choke each other. But it didn't feel like hate. No, this was worse than war. This was worship done wrong. Fingers clawing down backs instead of tracing them softly, Bites where there used to be kisses, moans ripped out instead of whispered endearments. Rain poured over us, turning heat into steam rising off tangled limbs, leather peeling away under desperate hands, shirts torn more than unbuttoned, skin meeting slick muscle trembling not from cold. When I finally broke the kiss, breath ragged, he arched under me, neck exposed, and for a second, I forgot everything but instinct. My fangs grazed over that pulse point, the same place I once marked him as mine 5 years ago, and growled low in his ear, "You belong to someone else now." My voice cracked. "So why does your body still beg for me?" He didn't answer with words. Instead, he whimpered, soft, needy, exactly how he used to when I buried myself inside of him slowly against this very wall months before they took everything. That sound. It shattered what little control remained. So instead, I bit down, not hard enough to draw blood, but enough so he'd feel it tomorrow, enough so anyone who looked would know, even after betrayal, even through fire and pain, some bonds, they never break. Then suddenly Cassian flips us both, so he would be on top. His low and ragged breath broke through the storm, trembling with something I hadn't heard in years.
Kieran, I never stopped loving you, even when I destroyed us.
And just like that, the world tilted, because it wasn't supposed to be this. Hard. It wasn't supposed to hurt worse than fire or chains or prison concrete. But here he was, kneeling over me, rain-slicked and half-naked, forehead pressed to mine like we were still lovers instead of war wounds dressed as men, and saying the one thing I'd spent 5 years pretending not to need. My breath caught not from pain, not from rage, but from want, so deep it scared me. I wanted to believe him, wanted his words more than revenge, more than blood on my hands or justice carved into skin. God help me. I missed his weight on top of me, the way he used to pin me down slow, not because he had power, but because I let him. How he'd kiss every scar like it made me sacred, how his hands knew exactly how tight to hold when my demons screamed too loud inside. And now we were back where we began, on this same balcony where our first fight ended in tangled sheets and whispered promises, but everything between us was ash, except this heat burning raw beneath wet clothes and shattered walls. I swallowed hard, chest rising fast under his touch, my fingers still curled in the fabric of his ruined shirt, not pushing away, not letting go. When suddenly, he shifted slightly, the smallest movement. And that's all it took. His length brushed against my hip, through soaked layers, thick and already half-hard, and a low groan slipped out before I could stop it. He pulled back just enough so our eyes met, his storm-gray irises blown wide with hunger and regret, and whispered,
You don't have to forgive me, but let me make you come at least once before you disappear again.